a new live session of Seibert Media. I have a guest, it's Adil. Hi, Adil.
Hi, Martin.
Adil is one of our most experienced Linchpin consultants, and we want to do a sample presentation, a template presentation for how we present Linchpin Intranet Extranet to our customers. So you've prepared quite some things, right?
I've prepared a demo site with a new, fresh look, which some of you might actually find very refreshing, and I'm keen to show it.
Yeah. Some housekeeping stuff. This is both for our customers and Linchpin partners. Linchpin partners have made us do this session because they said, could you please show us how you present this complex and mighty framework that you've built? So this was the initiation. I still think this is pretty interesting for prospects, customers who think they want to check out what Linchpin can do. It's not a short thing, I think. Like we said, it should be something between 15 and 45 minutes. The session internally, when I sent Adil a calendar invitation, was scheduled for 2 hours. So somewhere in between that, we'll land. The idea is that if you invest this time, you have our current version of what we think is important, what we want to present, both on the web interface, on our mobile app, and other outlets where we can make sure that people can consume internet news and so on. On top of that, there's a Linchpin website, www.linchpin-intranet.com. And spending 6 minutes and viewing this video is going to help you if you're fast-paced and don't have much time. And then spending 20 minutes more on the website will give you all transparency on pricing, feature lists, infrastructure, how you can host it yourself, deploy it in a private cloud, or have it a cloud-only solution with us. We will not tackle those strategic software things, but focus on the features. And without further ado, I would switch to your screen and let you do your magic.
Thank you. All right, so I will walk you through our Confluence-based internet solution called Linchpin. And if it would be a live presentation, I would just point out that you are free to interrupt me anytime. Since you can't, I will just walk you through and start here. There is a customized demo site I've prepared for today. So this is where I will enter my credentials. And here, most customers ask if they can connect this site to the existing Active Directory, Windows Active Directory LDAP. So this is, of course, possible. So all users will use the credentials they use when they are trying to authenticate on their working devices. And so it's also possible to integrate a single sign-on mechanism.
Yeah, that's more. So whatever your user directory may be in the newer projects, we do see Google and LDAP systems. A lot of our customers obviously also have Active Directory. Confluence can already connect to those, and Linchpin enhances the features like synchronizations back and forth. A lot. Yeah.
So for now, I'll just.
Oh, and if you don't know that, with the click of a button on our Linchpin website, you can get your own instance like this. So what Adil did is just a click away for your own company or for a demo session. We highly recommend that you generate your own instance because you can adapt the layout. And it's also your instance. If you want to secure it, you can deactivate all the demo users and run it with your own secured users and passwords.
All right. So I just logged into my demo site, and this is where I land on my customized dashboard. So if you're familiar with Confluence, you know 2 things. First, Confluence looks way different than this. And second, you can enhance the feature set of Confluence by installing more and more apps from the Atlassian marketplace. To give you a brief sense of what is Linchpin, Linchpin is a set of different add-ons Seibert Media developed to meet functional intranet requirements Confluence can't do natively. So I will walk you through those different apps and show you how they interact with each other. So here is where you can see the customized theme. Obviously, you could integrate your own corporate design, upload your own logo and your color scheme to make your system look more like an individual software. Because a system that looks visually not familiar won't be accepted by your users. So this is where we go ahead and also start to add in navigation menu right here. You can add as many entries as you please. You can categorize them and link internal as well as external sites within here. So in a very prominent way on the dashboard, we've introduced here the company news. These are the corporate news. You can see 6 of them, even though you still have the possibility to slide through them. And if you take a closer look, you will see that we have different news channels. You see that we've got the corporate news, we've got the corporate news Washington, and here the marketing news. So if we go further ahead, you will see some events. Unfortunately, these are in German, but bear in mind that these can be company events such as workshops or Christmas parties, whatever. On the right side, we've published here further detailed information.
And like the reason why those events are German is probably that the whole surface has been redone, and we didn't prepare for an English presentation in this specific instance. All content is fully personalized. We'll learn that later. So just bear with us when you find German content. It's just that we're redoing all of these things.
Yeah. So this actually the point I was getting to is that the main thing about this site is that all information that is displayed right here is fully personalized. And this personalization is based on my user profile. So this is where you can see I've got the Washington navigation. I see the corporate news and the corporate news Washington and also the marketing news. So if I just click on my profile, which is here, you'll get to see that I stated that I work in marketing in the Washington branch. So this is where I'm going to change that real quick. First of all, I will change my system language into English, US. Then I would go ahead and say, I work in IT. And just to give you a brief sense of the personalization feature, I will transfer myself to the Frankfurt branch in Germany. So I will hit save. And as soon as I've done that, you will notice that the navigation menu is now in German. It displays now the menu points for the Frankfurt branch. And if I go back to my dashboard and just refresh that page, you will get to see that I have now different news channels. Instead of those 6 tiles, I now have 4 tiles with German news instead of corporate news here. I've got corporate news Deutschland, which means Germany. So it's here. Instead of corporate news Frankfurt, I get to see there's Washington, I get to see corporate news Frankfurt. And here, I get to see IT news instead of marketing news. So, of course, you can enhance this personalization feature to all elements. So this is why you could have personalized or targeted specific events displayed on this dashboard and all other German content, such as menus or other training videos. So everything around here is based on my profile information.
Can you go up real quick? So one thing that is also interesting is you changed the language to English. So now instead of erstellen, it says create. And so it's edit profile, and the Profil bearbeiten would be the German term. All of these things have gone to English. So what you can see is there can be quite a differentiation between people working in Frankfurt speaking English, or people in Washington speaking German, or like the standard would be someone in Germany, in Frankfurt would speak German, and someone in Washington would speak English. But the system can be really fully personalized.
That's correct. And we use the profile information to personalize all that. The configuration you're seeing here, like these categories, individual information, location, or expertise, this is just some basic configuration we made on this demo site. You're completely free to create your own categories and your own profile fields. Furthermore, you can define your own field types for those specific profile fields. So you get to choose between select fields, for example. You can see text fields or multi-select fields. Most of our customers already have some basic information such as phone numbers or email addresses already stored in the Active Directory in their LDAP, and this is where they get to choose to synchronize that information or import that information from their respective Active Directories, user directories. So in that case, the users wouldn't be able to just switch their locations as I did for demonstration purposes, but all that information would be maintained by the IT department in that case. Just to display more English content again, I would transfer myself again to Washington. And you get to see here that I could put further profile information, my expertise. This is where I get to put in the information that I'm familiar with Confluence, SAP, Salesforce, and since I'm working on my accreditation, also on Jira. These are the languages I speak. And here I get to hit save. All that information is updated in an instant. And the beauty about this information is that it can also be displayed in dynamic user lists. So this is a use case we prepared here to set up a phone directory, for example.
Can I interrupt you quick?
Sure.
Like, just to step back one step for Linchpin partners who give presentations themselves. I think this is the very first step that we try to bring across for customers that differentiates Linchpin from all the other options that you can use to try to create an intranet based on Confluence personalization. So we usually in an English presentation start with Washington, and we switch the profile. While that, we introduce that profile with beefed up profile pages, like in LinkedIn. And then we switch to Frankfurt, show the whole thing in German, which people usually don't understand, but at least they understand, oh, this can be my internet. Like, based on my needs, my information needs, we can filter and change the dashboard. And I think this is pretty straightforward and almost always well received, right?
Yeah.
Let's say 500 users is the limit where this is something that you can really leverage. If you have a customer with more than 1,000 or 2,000 employees, it's mandatory. It's really something that they absolutely need to have. If you have a company below 500 users, maybe you want to skip that part. Back to the phone book.
Yeah. Wow. You just remind me of something. Often customers ask at this specific point if the personalization feature has to be based on the location attributes, and of course that's not the case. You can choose every single profile feed to base the personalization on. So it can be your position or your department. So let's say you don't have different branches, you only have one location, then you can say you want targeted news for employees in the marketing department.
Or for onboarding or something like that.
That's great. Back to the phone directory. This is where I get the dynamic user list. I just set up the configuration and told, show me everyone who's stated to work in the US, including their branch. Also, I want to see their position and their phone number. This is where I get to filter those phone lists. Show me all people who work in public position. Show me all external employees. Or show me all people who work in HR. So of course, as Confluence feature, yeah, I can just save that page now for later, and this will be displayed now in this sidebar on the right side. So this is where I can access this phone directory anytime of these. Other than that, I can still go ahead and use the custom user search. I can now look for people by just entering their name. I just entered Miller, so Michael Miller shows up. Or I can go ahead and say, I want to see someone who works in Frankfurt. And then everyone who provided the information in the user profiles that they work in Frankfurt will be shown up. What's also possible is, I'm seeking someone who's familiar with Jira. So as soon as I hit Jira, everyone who provided the information that he has expertise in Jira gets shown up. And this is where I can filter. So I can go ahead and say, I need someone who works in Washington and is familiar with Jira. And other than that, this specific person has to speak Arabic. So only Petra Winter and my profile will show up. So this is a very, very popular use case within our customers. It's a very basic intranet requirement.
Yeah, it's expert search is what people usually call it. So instead of the use case of Confluence where you're searching for knowledge or data or information, in this expert search, you're searching for people. Like, I know I have a complex problem with this and that, and it needs to be solved at this location, and then filtering through a long list of phone book entries is something that makes Linchpin worthwhile and interesting.
Right. Other than that, I can now start on collaborating with my colleagues. For this, you get to set up different spaces or project rooms or communities for each and single department, project, or team. You get to see a standardized marketing space with a standardized dashboard. This is where the marketing team can introduce themselves. There are different pages. These spaces structured in key subjects, goals, current issues they're working on, and a place for internal collaboration. All employees who can access this page get a brief idea on which task the marketing department is tackling and where in which place this information is stored. And you get to see that as soon as I switch to the marketing space, you have seen that this header color or the color scheme you want to change, you can just show it to me by switching to the HR space, just by clicking on it. I get to see now the blue color scheme. So this is where you can set up different space layout to address different subsidiaries within your organization, or to indicate different space categories. So you can go ahead and say, if a space category is determined for project work, it always has a red navigation bar. Or external parties can access that.
That's a very good use case in my opinion. Like, if you're running an extranet as part of your Linchpin project, you may want to make sure that every employee understands that, I don't know, for example, every extranet use case is green and the rest of your intranet instance is black, so that they know if I post something here, it'll be shared with some sort of customer.
This is one way to do that. Of course, we have enhanced possibilities to implement the corporate design, for example, of this external party. Let's say you are working with one of your customers. In this case, it's the great hotel chain. You can just set up this space, and here you get to set up his own logo, his own color scheme, and a microblog, which I'll get to into in a minute.
Just like a short wrap-up about design. There's a lot of design solutions on the Elastic Marketplace. Linchpin isn't fully dependent on the Linchpin theme plugin that we're using for all of these magic things here. But still, it's the most affordable and most practical thing to use. We usually don't pitch the design too much because it's kind of a generic thing that others can solve as well. Sometimes customer already stuck or sold into another solution. That doesn't mean necessarily that you can't use Linchpin. And we're trying to make them aware that still all the other apps will work. For a customer who does not have a design solution, using the Linchpin theme plugin is really highly recommended.
Yeah, you agree? We used to do custom development, but we moved aside from that because we experienced that when a Confluence update was due, we had to make sure that the design we made, the custom development, was compatible.
Yeah,
and this caused So of course, I showed you those department spaces. Of course, you can set up project spaces. In this case, it's a project space for an intranet relaunch. So what we've experienced with our existing Confluence customers was that a lot of them could use the benefits of Confluence, like shared collaboration platform, where all information is documented centrally. But when we asked further detailed question, they all told us that the communication around those projects still took place in their inboxes, within their emails. So this is where we introduced the microblog. The microblog is a stream, compare it with the Twitter feed or the Facebook timeline, in which your users can share quick updates regarding projects or just information around the work. So this is where you get to see that Theo Schroeder posted a new Linchpin video about the Linchpin user profiles. This is where I can interact with his post. I can just like it and reply to it and say, thanks. And this is how I can give him quick feedback on information posted within it. And the beautiful thing about this one is that the communication now takes place at the same place in which where your documentation around this project is. So if a new employee starts within this project, we don't have to forward him very old emails and look for them, but you can just only access this space and get to see all the information regarding this project at once.
And like the big benefit of such a project room or digital workplace for your project is that it's fully shared and transparent, and at the same time way more secure than email is, because all rights are transparent. Everyone can check, oh, this is financial information, it should only be between Arvid and me, and everything else can be shared with everyone, and this is what the customer can see. And yeah, like email simply doesn't cut it in project management. Like email is only helpful if you want to inform people of things that are happening without any action to be taken. So if I can check off an email as read and delete it right away, that's a good use of email. So a notification from something like Confluence is, in my opinion, something that is worthwhile. Writing, sharing, discussing, liking should all take place on web interface or a mobile phone with a simulator.
And of course, we consider the right and permission, the rights and permissions are placed on the space level or on page level. So only people who have access to this space can access this microblog timeline. And this is just one use case of the microblog. If I access the dashboard, you get to see that in this case, I use the same add-on, like the same microblog again, but for a very different use case. In this case, it's not for project communication, but furthermore, it's thought as a community or as a bulletin board within the organization. This is where I get to see the streamline of all the microblogs I was granted access to. But here I could go ahead and say, I want to see what's new in Washington. Just click on the Washington field right here. And this is where I get to see that Catherine Holmes just updated that there is a new blog post in the HR department, or the administrator informs us about a new update within the microblog. So this is where I could share the information that I brought some cake because it was my birthday, or inform everyone that the coffee machine just broke. And in that case, you don't have to send an email to all people within your organization, but you say only the people in Washington need to know that the coffee machine doesn't work. So they don't have to share this information around the whole organization.
And it's also a bottom-up approach where everyone can post something. We still do see customers, especially very big ones, who have a hard time adapting to the microblog idea that everyone can now post something. There's a continuum between Internet 1.0, where the CEO and corporate communications say what's up, and everyone else is just reading, like one for all intranet, now personalized through Linchpin. And then Internet 2.0 is everyone can create content themselves. That's the basis of Confluence, actually. So you have spaces, everyone can create pages, people can write blog posts in their spaces. And the microblog is actually really on the edge of Internet 2.0, where people can exchange quick updates about projects. And the cool thing, compared to Facebook, there are studies where people say, oh, spending time on Facebook is actually detrimental to my motivation, to my feeling well, and so on. This is really business stuff. Like you can post a bicycle that you want to sell to someone in a flea market section, but basically you're posting updates to what's up in our office, what's up in our project, what did we sell to customers lately, what are we going to do in form of campaigns and marketing, really quick communication, very heavily used with a lot of our customers by a lot of different users. And this also like wraps up another thing where we pick out like the phone book or the microblog or the expert search as pillars to show, look, this isn't just knowledge management in Confluence. This is much more. This will connect your whole company to one platform that will unite all the legacy systems that you have. And don't try to circumvent. Everyone has a plethora of other applications. And some of those applications are still competing with something like Confluence or Linchpin. So integrating them may be counterintuitive in the beginning, but Linchpin really should be a hub to everything. Maybe we use this for the App Store real quick. Or sorry, did I
yeah, I would have.
However, you are a Jenna. You do what you think is the right thing. So
actually, the feedback we from customers we're getting for the microblog is that it connects employees who don't have any related use cases within their daily business. So one employee from the marketing department can share a new logo and ask for all people from accounting to finance around
social search.
Yeah, that's it. So hey guys, this is our new logo. What I would love to hear your thoughts on this. And this is how you get very good and quick feedback from your colleagues. Make work more transparent. So, and as you mentioned, that this is like a bottom-up approach. So every user who has the permission, of course, can update new information in the microblog, while on the top section right here, we get to see the top-down communication approach. So this is when administrator, mostly it's someone from the corporate communications or IT, who determines which news shall be shown or displayed to specific targeted groups. So as a user, I can't influence this section. As soon as I access my Confluence site or my intranet, I get to see this information because someone determined this is relevant news for you.
So only people in corporate communications or responsible for my site or my department can add news.
Exactly. So this is where we always have discussions with other organizations, because this is a very standardized Intranet 1.0 approach, top-down communication. So in Confluence, you all know the blog feature, and it's very popular with our customers. But often it is the case that the corporate communications doesn't want to share that space for this highly official news. So this is where users can subscribe to their own personal news, make their own subscription. So this is where I get to do that. I can just subscribe to news. And even though I stated that I work in Washington, maybe I speak German. So this is why I'm interested in news from Frankfurt and Berlin, for example. So as soon as I do that, I get to see in my own personalized stream. So this is my actively personalized stream, my information from all the blog posts from Frankfurt. And I can, of course, see all the news. I get to see the corporate news Berlin, corporate news Frankfurt, in the very different and chronological order. So this is a very good compromise for people who still want to blog, but don't get any space from the administrators of this.
One of our customers with more than 50,000 employees has used those personal news feeds to replace over 200 internal newsletters, where departments try to make sure that everyone else would be able to keep up with what they are doing. And this is something that is happening here as well. So you have your spaces, you blog in your spaces, and we make it easy for people to subscribe and to this and see this stuff. We didn't dive too deeply into Linchpin Enterprise News yet, which is basically the top-down news that Adi has shown and the personal newsfeed. I personally only do that when the other guy on the customer side is from corporate communications. Do you see a lot of interest from other people? Or
often I get asked who can create those blog posts, and of course the answer is whoever has the permission to do it. So you can define who can do that. And often there is the case, there are questions as, can I set a publication date? Can I set an expiry date? Can I make news
So you
sticky?
show that.
So yeah, this is where I get to show that you can set up different news categories. So people go ahead and say, these are corporate news, but you get to see all news from the category general. So you can go ahead and follow specific categories within there. And just to give you a brief idea, that everything is based on Confluence. So we didn't touch the core itself, which is why, that is also important. All other apps on the Atlassian Marketplace are compatible with Linchpin. So if you already have a preset of apps on your existing Confluence site, that doesn't mean that you can use Linchpin. So this is just a blog post with an intro text, which is highlighted with a kicker. And this is very easy, made for people from corporate communication who can just update this meta information right above in this panel above the Confluence editor. So here's where they get to set a publication and an expiry date, add additional content, or upload a news teaser. Right.
Oh, I love this new feature. You should show how to highlight the key.
Which one?
There's on sorry, one more. I take over here. So you see this teaser image here, and let's say the most important thing is this area. At this point, we let the system automatically try to find out what is important. But if you click on custom, you can say, this is the area that I want to show. And I can still free float. And then once I hit save, update it, and we go back to the starting page, you'll see that Confluence now automatically zooms into the area that I have defined. If you look at the screen right now, you will see that all images are kind of like shaped on the fly. Here it is. Okay. And now this is also a good way where we can see that this now, and this is a new feature, has become way more responsive. So we have added breakpoints. So it's getting smaller, even smaller, and then what you can see is the images. There's also moving, and
but not only the images, but also the navigation. And if you just go down, we'll see that those teasers. Wait, you could see here. So here it is, and they just.
So we have two columns, and then it switches to one column each. So this is also something that is new in this surface. We do have some sorts of responsiveness. Sorry, we also have a lot of responsibilities, but responsiveness is the right term. So if you're using an iPad or a smartphone that is very narrow, then the web interface will also adapt to this smaller viewport now.
Just because everything, our newest addition to the Linchpin news bundle is the News Center, which is in this demo site actually placed on the footer, but there are other ways to make it more prominent. And this is the News Hub, where all blog posts I am permitted to see are displayed in one place. So every blog post is right here, and this is where I get to filter those news. I can go ahead and say, show me news from corporate news, Washington, with certain labels or certain categories.
Is that part of your normal presentations? Do you go so deeply into that, or only if people ask?
Since this feature is new for like 2 or 3, was introduced 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
This is my last presentations. I used it.
Okay.
Because I think it's a very cool feature.
Yeah, I this as well. And I saw Reda, a colleague of ours, present that to a pretty skeptic customer from corporate communications, and I loved it.
Yeah.
It's this aggregation is not only pretty but also very useful for specific things.
And covers the use case about news archives. So what about older news?
Okay.
This is really interesting.
There's more. There's the App Store. We should definitely show that. I was talking about, while you were preparing that, I was talking about the one hub for everything digital, all the legacy systems, and there's a solution that we call App Store.
We call it App Center.
App Center, actually. Sorry.
And this is where I get to see all the apps or other applications I use in my daily business at work, which I can access directly from here. So let's say I work in marketing, and this is why I'm responsible for our social media platforms. This is why I get to see this YouTube channel and this Facebook channel. But of course, you can create your own app selection, which can be through writing it. So if you're a consultant and you're often on the customer side, you probably need these apps for your business apps. Airbnb or Deutsche Bahn for renting planes, HRS 6 for renting a car is actually right here. And this is where I can go ahead and just subscribe to it. Other than that, I can just go ahead and say, since I already use Pinterest or MailChimp, just subscribe to it. And as soon as I do that, this is a very cool feature. And because it doesn't matter where I am within my intranet, I can access all those apps directly from my sidebar. So this spreads out the idea that this is your go-to application platform, which you can reach, from where you can reach all other solutions you are using for your daily business.
And this also includes all the legacy systems that you have internally. So we have built implementations or integrations for Skype for Business, for example, for SAP, we usually find old intranets that we have replaced with Linchpin in that list. We find old bug trackers like Mantis or Redmine or Track or whatever that have been replaced by Jira, and Jira obviously as well. And the cool thing for employees is if your IT department is diligent, they will implement an SSO solution for all of that. So I go to the internet, and then from there I can access really everything, and it will be already integrated. You can integrate external cloud software into Confluence and Linchpin easily, be it Google, be it Office 365, be it Asana, be it whatever is available on the web can easily be integrated on Pages or here on this App Store. And
also desktop clients can be opened up from the App Center directly.
Yeah, if you can control that certain protocols are available as applications on the client, you can open up your fat client ERP software through this web interface. No problem.
Very often requested.
Yeah.
All right. So this is it.
Actually, we're pretty. This is kind of what I'm presenting in a short demo. Or is there something that you would say is definitely missing that we should always?
Because we often
the mobile app obviously is missing, but
we try to qualify.
So you ask first what you want to see.
And often, sometimes it's the case that someone tells me, "Yeah, we are working on different sites within, so we have different languages. One Confluence site, so which is why we also prepare a page which can be linked with different languages. So this is where you get to see my page for corporate goals, basic wiki page, and within here you can get to see information for other languages. Here's where I get to go ahead and say, this page also exists in German. As soon as I click on that, I get to see the same page with a German translation. Technically, it's a different page in a different space, but you can just link them.
So with multiple languages, we're doing Wikipedia style, so we link the pages. There's other options in Confluence with other plugins, but we've seen that this is, at least for the internet use case, in our opinion, the most flexible way.
And of course, if the customer isn't familiar with Confluence, I stress out the editor features or the wiki features such as versioning, history of pages, because this is or collaborative editing.
Yeah.
These are features which are always very popular with new customers. So this is what I will show you.
Okay. How about we go a little bit about mobile. And actually, this is kind of late. We've now spent a lot of time on the web interface to try to make sure that we highlight the most important features there. We didn't see any of the backend yet. We didn't look at how you configure profile fields, how you configure a microblog, and all of these things. We didn't show you how personalization actually works. And we don't do that in first-time presentations at all. And it's almost never the case that people really want to see that.
But even though I always mention that everything we've just seen within that page can be done by everyone without requiring any programming skills. Because often the administrators are people from corporate communications or HR, so they don't know.
They have to run that without knowing any
service. And this is what I also stress out, that you don't need anyone from IT to set up a new menu point or create a new app.
What I wanted to highlight is that it's very important that you show the mobile app, because it's a very big differentiator for Linchpin. And although we show it late here, you may want to make sure that you have enough time to fit it in, because this is, in my opinion, one of the strongest drivers for Linchpin sales. You can always sell like a microblog or an extranet space privacy license. That's nice, and you can also sell Snapshot or Draw.io. That's also nice, but it has a limited financial benefit. If you become the provider of the official intranet, often you're kicking out Microsoft SharePoint or another very expensive solution. So as a partner, you're opening up a very big project budget for delivering professional services, for doing consulting, for doing strategic work. And also, it's like the license volume is increasing because way more apps or plugins are needed to do that. And in my opinion, the mobile app is the main driver that we see in our sales efforts.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Yeah, definitely. So this is where I plug in my phone, obviously, then show my actual phone. And
there's a little lag, but
all right. So this is where I display that you can download the Linchpin mobile app, the app for iOS or Android devices on the App Store or on the Play Store. And this is where you get to see the app right here. And just next to it, you get to see the Seibert Media customized Linchpin app. So it's also possible to create your own customized, your own branded app for your customer. So this is.
Let me interject here real quick. There's something that I do differently here on the phone. So what I do is I start on the App Store, and then I search for Seibert. That's fine. Oh, Seibert Media. And then you find those two apps. This is the branded app, the one above. And the Linchpin mobile app is the generic one that everyone can use. And it's basically the same thing where...
I get to see that, but you get to see some screenshots.
The cool thing that or the difference here, in my opinion, is that the customer can do the same thing on their phones while you're doing that. And that's, in my opinion, a big help. And then I say, oh, look, it's already implemented. So I just open one of those. This is also something that I try to make sure that people try to follow along. So if you get them to install the Linchpin mobile piece on their own phone, then when they get home, when they get in the next meeting, they can say, oh, look, Adil just showed me this cool new intranet app. Do you want to see it? Like, they have it in in their palms and they can spread the news. So if you can get them to install the app and try it out, it's a very good multiplicator. So my recommendation for Linchpin partners would be install that app on your own phone and make sure that the other people who are working in consulting and sales also do it. You don't even have to have a Linchpin instance. We'll show you really quick how to log in. And if you're a customer, install it on your own phone and try to make sure that other people do the same thing. Even if the actual Linchpin project is months or maybe even years away, it's a very good way to lobby for this solution.
Actually, the app often comes up in default Confluence workshops, so we don't talk about intranet projects at all, but then someone mentions an app for Confluence. And
we should show the differentiation between the Confluence mobile app and the Linchpin app in the end as well. There's also some housekeeping that you will want to, like if we go down a little, we can show this is Adil's computer. This is a cable, and his phone is connected to that. And then we're using the software QuickTime on the Mac to show the content of the phone here. So that's also something that at least I only learned that once we had the app. So I could assume that some of our customers and partners might want to do. And do you know how to do this in? I have no idea how you do it on the Windows machine, but I'm sure there's a way.
They will manage.
Yeah. If you want to help us, put a comment below this video. Yeah, you're running out of energy, so this is. Okay, that's the mobile app, and then we have to actually open it.
I'll just show it to you. Like this is where I will place it here on the right side, while I will see my intranet here on the left side. So I will just open up my Linchpin mobile app right here. So this is where you get to see that I have the possibility to create or connect more than one sites to that. So if you're having an intranet site based on Confluence and an extranet site based on Confluence, you get to select on different sites right here. This is what I'm going to do. I'll just click on Add System. This is where I get to pull in the information, the URL, the web page. But instead of that, I just choose to scan your QR code. And this is what I'm getting shown. How to do that? I just need to click on my profile. Then on the tab for mobile access. And of course, if you're running an English iOS version, all this information will be displayed in English too. So this is where I get it to go ahead and say, generate QR code. So I'll click QR code right here. Just scan it. Now, in that case, I just need to enter my password, which can also be steps. Click on display, and this is where I'm now connected to my internet. So here on the first tab, like right here, I get to see the corporate news. If I access my dashboard again, I get to see that these are the news that are displayed from the corporate communications department, for instance. So these are the top-down communicated news. Right here, you get to see it. This is where the corporate news Washington gets shown first. You get to set up a different configuration for the news on your mobile app than on the desktop version. And of course, you can switch to personal news on the right side if you want to.
And those personal news are always exactly the same as you can see here. For the top-down news, we don't have these tiles. We just have the list, and the most updated one will go on top. So that's why the order is different. There's also, like in the way I present that, there's also a small twitch that I would show, if you allow. Like when I start showing the app, you've shown the scan QR code. Also, like following the idea that people should be able to follow along I try to do the without login first. So the very bottom here, sorry, yeah. Oh, and do you know that you can move this? I didn't know that. So here it says ohne Login ausprobieren. If you have an English phone, it says test without login. And if you click that, it'll ask you, do you want to have a test user in German or in English? So I use English. You can type in your email address. I'll skip that. And that's it. And everyone can do that on their own phone. You don't have to have a Linchpin instance for that. It's basically the very same process, but you kind of skip the login process for the user. I do admit that showing the QR code way is helping a lot of IT people and other people to see how am I going to onboard those non-desktop users, those that don't have their own computer and with a phone. They scan a QR code. That's simple. That's something that I can understand. And it's still secure. It allows us to end-to-end encrypt.
And one thing that is also often requested is that IT gets an overview of all the users who access the intranet on their mobile devices. So if you report your
there's a device management.
If you report your phone stolen or lost, as an IT employee, you can just disable the access to the internet.
One of the most requested features we had for the mobile app was it should work with our current instance, and our current instance is behind the firewall. We've solved that with the gateway server. We will skip that here, and it's, in my opinion, it's not necessary for a first sales call.
No, not at all.
But sometimes people ask, like, but our conference is behind the firewall, and we've solved that problem. And that's also a very big differentiation to the app that Atlassian has built.
Yeah. So other than that, I get, right here.
Sorry.
So starting from the news, I could just go ahead and switch over to the microblog, for example. And of course, I can here just create new posts. Right just here. This is a new post. I could also upload an image, for example. Just in this case, I would just hit create. And if I go here on the microblog on my desktop version, of course, this new post, which I just did as Petra Winter, will be shown right here in a second. Here we go. Everything is rendering slowly. So, wait, now we've got it. So this should be here, right under washing. No, unless you just connected. So this is I don't like you interfering with my presentation. No, we are not on this side.
We're
on a different demo side.
Yeah, we're on the demo side. Yeah, I'm very sorry. I wrecked your
But no problem. I could just go ahead and say, this is mine again. Now I get to.
And that's also something that we can do with Linchpin Mobile. Like you can have multiple conference instances, and you can switch between one or the other.
So that was on purpose, right?
Yeah. No, I didn't prepare that.
So, okay. Just hit create right here, and now it will update on this page right here in a second. And of course, as I just mentioned, you can just upload pictures or embed YouTube videos also, which are rendered in this mobile app, as you can see right here. Wait, just want to show this one since I wasted so much time in explaining about it. So this is it, just posted from my mobile app. So
it actually works. We're using that daily with 150 people, so just believe us. News, microblog, we've seen.
You get to see the user directory, all people. So the expert search, I demonstrated it earlier, and also is also integrated within here. Just go ahead and see for people who are familiar with SAP, or just look for some people. In that case, I could just go ahead and say, all right, who's this Cameron Cox? Open up this information. I get to see all this profile information from here on. I can just click on email. In that case, Apple email will open up, or I could just click on instant message. Depending on which client I've installed or is connected right here. HipChat, Stride, Skype for Business, or Telegram, whatever you want, would open up right here. And of course, I can also just start a phone call directly from the app. What's also very popular is accessing Confluence pages. You get to see, for example, my page corporate goals, which we've seen earlier, just to demonstrate to you how it looks here on the mobile app. And here it's on the right, on the left side, it's the desktop. Get to see all that information, and from here on, you can also see all the attachments, add comments, which are instantly published into the desktop.
And we also have, again, the kind of problem that Adil has his phone in German, so it says zurück and Kommentare instead of and comments and so on.
But here
it's pretty simple, I think, to change that.
And of course, we have default Confluence features such as save for later, watch, here on the right, in the top right, share those pages, or see all the pages within that page tree. Right.
A question that we get around languages in the app a lot is, will you support other languages than German and English? The Atlassian app is only available in English, so we do have one more in German. The unfortunate answer is at this point, we only have employees who know German and English fluently, so we cannot offer more languages. We're working on a concept right now where customers and partners, Finland, for example, or Finnish language is a use case that we're trying to prepare, so that you get all the keys and you can provide your own keys and then try out whether they will match and be long enough or short enough to fit in the app. Officially, we will only support languages that we speak ourselves. And if there is an option to have the app in Finnish, it will be maintained by the community.
Listen to you, Arto.
Yeah.
All right. And this, on my more section on the right page, is my hub again, where I get to see pages I recently have seen, or pages I saved for later. And this is the hub where we'll be pushing out the push notifications, or all the notifications from Confluence will be stored right here.
Can you go into the Seibert Media app real quick?
Yeah, sure.
So we can see that it's green and it has our own logo. And once Adil logs into our own instance, under the More icon, he will be able to show that there's a lunch menu. And you can, this is actually like the lunch for Monday. And he can choose, oh, it's Ramadan, right? So he won't choose something, but I could choose curry chicken to eat.
Just click on that, and now you sign up for curry chicken.
Yeah. The idea is also a big differentiation between our app and what Atlassian does is we do want to develop enhancements with partners together. So if your customer's company wants to integrate SAP apps or another legacy system, this app is something where this can be placed and used on a mobile phone. And it could be either something where you can then jump into another app, or where you can have actually the data fed into the app and be accessed there directly.
While this information is very useful for your partners, I just wanted to stress out that this is not information I provide with my customer presentations. As for my case,
so you don't care about customizations.
No, not about that. I don't mention the Confluence server. So,
okay, yeah. So do I. Sometimes customers ask, but Atlassian has released an app, and obviously customers can use that nevertheless. Unfortunately, it has a couple of restrictions that, at least for our Linchpin customers, Can we? I think we're through with the mobile, right? So how about we open a new page, and then let me search it real quick. So I think it's comparison, Linchpin mobile, Confluence mobile. And then first entry should be what we're searching for. And that's basically the answer that I give to people. You're right. This was rather a very detailed version for partners. So there's a long list of things that we can do and what we can't do, and vice versa. So we've worked on this. Really, Linchpin touch, is that something that you touch in your presentations, or don't you?
Actually, I do that. I do that by just providing that YouTube video, which I just like to run in the background while I try to explain the use case of that. Because one of our major customers who introduced the Linchpin Intranet once faced the issue that one of their blue-collar workers, they are building ships, one of their blue-collar workers went home, and he was congratulated by his wife that that they won a major deal for 4 billion euros to build a new ship. So, and this employee asked the next day at work, he asked the provocative question. He asked, what's that for an intranet that doesn't reach the employees who actually generate the value, like the blue-collar workers, the workers who actually build the ships, while his wife just listening to the radio.
Public radio.
Radio.
It's not the company radio.
And this is where they ask themselves, how do we reach all of our employees? Do we just give them mobile phones, or do they get tablets? And they started research, and the solution they come up with, in which we supported them, was in installing large devices in their production halls. So in every production hall, there is a very large touch device which renders all the information from the Linchpin Intranet, mainly news, but also microblog or other static information such as menus, on the displays. So blue-collar workers can access all that information without requiring a personal computer in their production.
Something that I wanted to share about Linchpin Touch is if you want to present this to, and this goes to partners obviously also, if you want to present this to your customers, we have built a pretty affordable Linchpin Touch hardware setup. This is all the hardware that goes into that, and the total price is like 700 euros or $900. At Seibert/portable Linchpin Touch device, you can find all the documentation on that. And for example, if we sell, and this is one of the first steps that we do in projects, if we sell a proof of concept to customers, we try to include such a touch device so that the internet actually sits on the desk of someone or in a hallway or somewhere, so that people ask, oh, what is this? And it's, yeah, it's a touch implementation of our new internet. And
it's a very good promotion.
Yeah, conversation starter, kind of. Linchpin Touch is still something that is special. So if you have a very small company, it doesn't cut it. If you have a company that only has desktop environments, probably not as interesting. We still use it in front of the coffee machine and those things, but I have had different reactions from customers. I think everyone gets the idea. It's something that is innovative. It's something that increases the visibility of the internet. But still, not everyone is willing to set up hardware and give it access to the Wi-Fi and configure it and so on. So,
but often it's the first thing is the thought of reaching even the employees who don't have any personal computers. So this thought often nobody had that thought on the customer side. So as soon as you address that, they get to see that as a requirement. So this is where they are at least starting to evaluate.
Yeah, and it's the only solution that we know that does that. Yeah. So there's no competitor out there that has a touch implementation. So obviously it's not a requirement that we get a lot, but once customers find out that this is something that they really want to have, Linchpin is the only thing that will provide that. Okay, this has been a long presentation of how we present Linchpin. not all of our customers are willing to spend so much time on a presentation. If you are with a customer who is interested in Confluence and said, I heard about this Linchpin, how would you summarize all of this in a 30-second pitch?
So often I get asked what distinguishes your internet solution such as from other competitors, or your Microsoft SharePoint. My answer to that is Linchpin is not a basic internet solution. It's a collaboration platform with infinite functionality. So the main thing about Linchpin, or the benefit you are getting from Linchpin, is that all your users can collaborate with each other, create new pages, share ideas, interact with each other, while still giving administrators the possibility to share top-down communicated news, which always generates more activity on the Confluence side. Often it's the case that customers approach us where they ask us, we are using Confluence and we want to gain more traction. We want to increase activity. How do we do that? And the answer is by introducing more and more use cases, such as corporate news, such as menus, such as diagrams. That's the answer.
My short pitch would be, there's two types of companies. Those that are very collaborative already, and they may start with something like Google G Suite, and then think, oh, I don't need this old stuff anymore. And then there's the older ones who don't have collaboration platforms yet. And we combine both. Like, we have this top-down approach, pretty comprehensively solved. There's hundreds of customers that have invested heaps of money to help us build a news management application on top of Atlassian Confluence that helps you do top-down communication. And at the same time, we've enhanced Confluence to be a very collaborative platform. And the big differentiator to other Atlassian solutions is obviously the mobile app and the integration of all of these apps that come together as a one solution intranet, and not this patchwork thing where things overlap a little and don't work together well. And it's very affordable. Like, it's something that ties together all the more modern cloud services and still less expensive. And especially if you're going into knowledge management, into process documentation, into collaboration on text, Confluence is unrivaled. Like, you can have like Google G Suite, Google Docs, or a Word on Office 365 and try to do something like Wikipedia in your own company with that. So yeah, that was probably a longer pitch, but often it's more conversational. So the customer has some needs, some pain points, and you have to address those. If you want to show us how you present as a partner, this is kind of our take. We would like to see your presentation. Most of the partners who've done that have achieved that much faster. So we're very excited to see those versions. If you're a customer, please reach out to a Linchpin partner near you and contact them. They will give you an on-site demo. They will be more interactive than we can in such a video where we don't have anyone who's asking questions. What do you want to add? What's the one trick to doing a good Linchpin demo?
Prepare a customized demo set.
This is. I know we can help with the design.
Yeah, we help with the design. It is always impressive. This is the feedback we are getting from customers. While other competitors show PowerPoint slides, we actually show the demo set.
In their layout.
Yeah, in their layout. And this is very beneficial for us.
That's my number one tip. Connect the phone first and make sure that you can actually see the screen on your desktop. I've spent minutes during presentations where I thought, oh, where's the cable? Wait a minute. Then I started searching the cable, and then it didn't work out directly because I had some weird glitches. So make sure that you can show the app whenever you feel it's right. And don't forget to do it, because I think it's one of the main USPs that Linchpin has today. Yeah, thanks for listening in. Whoever, and I think it's only partners probably who see so far, sees until this spot, I'll buy you a beer at Atlassian Summit. It's an event that comes every year, so a lot of opportunities for people to grab beers. You can write a comment below or reach out to me personally. A beer is on you if you see that.
Sure. If you have any insights for me and how I can improve my presentation, or have questions regarding Linchpin, feel free to approach me.
And if this video is 3 years old, we will still host it on YouTube, but probably we want to search for a newer version of the Linchpin Partner, because we're investing heavily in that, so it will grow old quite quickly. Thanks, Adi, for taking the time.
Sure.
Bye.